Good morning, and it is still morning. I don't think I've captured a video in the morning hours yet, and this is video 11. Let's see, it's Friday, August 2nd, 2024. Video 11 of 30 in this series titled Touching the Soul Through the Heart, Body, and Mind. I'm going to really attempt to keep this one short, especially because it follows the video from video 10 was pretty intense. I'm still chock full of anxiety about releasing that video. Um, I kind of need a decompression video that just to sort of like listen, acknowledging it was intense. I have to continue, actually. Yesterday's video was not even really the tip of the iceberg of what I've been holding back on. And I would really say, I've already sort of alluded to this. In the first year of this effort, when I first launched this, my company of me, and was so naive in thinking that within a year's time, I was going to be out there doing the work of my soul and supporting myself, and I never again was going to have to settle for, working out for others in a way that was so far from what I was wanting to do and capable of doing. Um, I had some of my best stuff coming through me, albeit immature. Like I still was definitely had not learned discernment. I was still very much in spiritualized ego. I was still, to some degree, believing that it was on me to change the world, as opposed to really truly understanding that when you change within, your world outside changes. And if all of us do that, then the collective world changes. So there was all sorts of innocent, naive, less developed aspects of myself, of course, 11 years ago. But the purity with which and the fearlessness with which I was sharing, just sharing just certain aspects of what I was attempting to share about my journey, about most notably the awakening, and at the highest level, what my awakening, it was like this self-validation of I knew it. I knew that we didn't have to settle for this the craziness in the world outside that I had seen since I was a little kid. It never made sense to me. The concept of retirement and watching so many people do work that they really didn't like and not start really enjoying their life until they're retired, that didn't make sense to me. The fact that we were idolizing, that like the millionaires and billionaires, that why there was such a huge disparity out in the world, and why do people hold on to so much, and why do we glorify that? Like, does anybody really need millions upon millions of dollars? Like, these things were clear to me when I was in single digits. 7 6 7 years old is when I remember, when I was just like, and then part of me knew I was like really destined for a challenging life, because I was not going to be able to accept and fit in and just kind of follow the herd. So the awakening was like, it was like I knew it. And the most empowering part was the self-validation, was that it wasn't something outside of me. I was never gonna find, ever. The answers are never outside of you. They are inside, and they're inside our heart. I will come back to the heart being the key. The heart is what connects us all to one another. The heart is what connects us to source. And my awakening was reconnecting to my heart, and that full flow of energy was back flowing. And it was like, bam, I had given myself permission to finally go after what I knew to be true, which is we can co-create. We can come together and co-create a very, very, very different version of reality. So they're just, but what happened in that year was I lost almost everybody closest to me. It was, and there is a video. So one of the things I've been playing around with is going back in time, right? And in my version of time, everything exists in the now moment. So it might be on the linear timeline in the past, but really it's the now moment from a different dimension. I've been thinking about going back and bringing videos that relate in some way to the present day, like in this case what I'm talking about right now. And there's one video in my mind, and it was part of its own series. It was video 4, I believe, of a 7-part series. I think the title of it was The Loneliest but Happiest Time. And that was right out of my awakening. And it was smack dab like in the middle of the first year of this unbelievable no discernment, no holding back in terms of really what I was trying to express. And there were consequences. All the people closest to me thought I had gone crazy. They thought, I mean, because I was doing, in addition to giving away a substantial amount of money to start my vision, to start my company that I didn't have, it was zero. I did it through 0% credit. I was also putting publicly out there on my channel. I was dancing, I was singing, I was drumming, I was juggling. I was like alive and touching into myself in the most magical ways. And I was almost entirely on my own. Like I was so isolated for that whole summer, the whole months in 2013, the whole summer. I was like waking up at the crack of dawn, not going to bed till midnight. I was writing, I was creating a website, I was doing all these things and feeling more me than I had ever felt. But the outside reflection of it at the time, the relationships and my network and who I was closest to at that time, none of them knew what to make of it. And it was so unbelievably hard for me because I couldn't understand. I'm like, wait a second. I have never been this confident. I've never been this happy. I've never been this sure of where I'm heading and the path I'm on. And nobody in my world could agree to see that. They couldn't. My family wanted me committed. Like literally my dad almost like had me committed because of the whole financial piece of it. And of course I understood what it looked like on the surface. Like I said in yesterday's video, I knew from moment one that what I was doing in terms of how I was funding it and the risk I was taking and the limit. I had a limit. I told myself I was not going to go into debt more than $100,000 because if I were to go to graduate business school at one of the top graduate B schools, which I had dreamed about and thought I was going to do when I was still in undergrad, when I was at PricewaterhouseCoopers and I was surrounded by people applying to business school at Stanford and Duke and all these places, there was a part of me that thought that was going to be in my path. Going to a graduate business school would have put me in debt damn near 6 figures. So I put that on myself and said, okay, damn it, I'm screw going to school, especially for something like business. If you're going to go to school to learn how to do brain surgery, to learn how to, rocket science, okay, maybe you need to actually learn those, and engineering, you need to go to school for those. But for business, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to tell you that for business, the best way to learn is to go out there, put your money where your mouth is, and learn by doing. And that's what I did. I put my money literally where my mouth was. And I knew I wasn't going to get anybody. I didn't want to water down the vision. I knew how crazy it was going to look. I knew that. But I thought the people closest to me, the people that knew me the best, my family and closest friends who knew how smart I was, who knew how independent I was, who knew how I was never going to be that person that was going to take handouts, or if I asked, that was not going to pay back or do what I said I was going to do. I was incredibly responsible. I had like these I thought, I know I'm doing great like on the surface, but can you give me the benefit of the doubt? Can you actually talk to me about it? Can you actually have the space for me and actually be open to receive that I know what I'm doing? And nobody in my life could do that. And so that was the most, that was by far the biggest piece I was ill prepared for. I had absolutely no, I was so naive to think that the people closest to me would finally be like, would be able to see and tell my story and accept. Why does it hurt them to accept my story the way I was telling it? I just couldn't believe it. And because of that, I'm not even kidding. Since that time, I've had a couple of videos over the years. I've had a stretch of videos at many times over the past 11 years since where I've tried to break that dam. But every time I get close, I get nervous again because I think, oh God, I'm going to cross somebody's boundary and somebody close to me that I don't want to lose from my life. I'm going to hit their threshold. They're not going to talk to me about it, and they're just going to end the relationship. Now, the truth of the matter is, I have now matured, and my skin is so thick, and my network is so small. Like my inner circle, like the closest people. It's barely on two hands. The innermost circle is barely into the second hand. So, and I don't think any of those people, I don't think there's anything I can do that would cause those people now to leave the friendship. But it's okay if it does. But that is the biggest fear. And I don't like upsetting people. I really don't. But the truth of the matter is that I got to share through my experiences and through my opinions in order to sort of build the background for this idea, especially this big Ripple 2020 world idea. I am putting myself out there to raise $4 million. You better believe I'm going to stand tall, and I got to provide the background of why I think my little company of me can be a conduit for $4 million. So, this is big girl time. This is putting on my big girl pants and stepping into my woman. It's not something that I've yet fully done, and there's so much more to come in terms of the places where I've been holding back. And I promise, again, as intense as it comes, part of stepping into this is that I've learned, especially this past year, to be honest, is I just went through a round of it with the big gig in Canada. I just went through another round of really having to eat my words about a particular person that it's like when you hold back and when you've been holding back on things for a long time, what can end up happening is you end up projecting some of that onto people who don't deserve it. You're upset at maybe a certain person for something specific or a certain group of people, but then if you just bury it and you don't let it come through, rest assured you're likely going to project it onto somebody who doesn't deserve it. So I acknowledge that there is, that's going to come through, especially as, like I said, I mature into this. Like this is about as raw and vulnerable as I can imagine getting right now, because I it is exposing, and that's why I had to post that video from yesterday, and I was really nervous to do it because I'm like, oh God, what are people going to think, and a couple of times where I really kind of slip with my words. I don't slip, but I didn't hold back. That's How can I claim to be authentic when that fiery side? I'm a Sagittarius, for God's sake. I am a fiery being. I'm feisty. I haven't achieved what I've done in this life at my size and continue to do what I do at my size by not being a fiery, little firecracker. That part is active within me, and I can't hide that. And so you I revealed a part of me that maybe some people don't know is there. I don't know. Like I said, this is about as raw and vulnerable as it can get. And I'm going to keep going with it. I don't think I'll necessarily get as intense as I was in yesterday's video, but I can't promise that. All I can promise is that I swear I'm not ever trying to hurt anybody else or trying to upset. But I can almost guarantee that people are going to be upset and perhaps inadvertently be hurt by what I say. And a lot of the times, I'm not even directing anything at somebody, and it's not being directed at somebody coming forward with some of these more future videos. It very likely I will have one or two or three people in mind as I talk about higher level issues that I've been holding back on. But even then, listen, the toughest lessons of our lives are our greatest teachers. I have honestly, I feel like I have the most gratitude for the relationships and the people that I've had the worst and hardest lessons and experiences from. Because just like when you're an athlete, you learn way more from your losses than you do from your wins. The opportunity to grow and learn from our pain is a lot more, from pain and struggle is a lot more than when everything is hunky dory. So I think that's a great way to end. And I'm just so excited that I captured the video so early in the day. So now I'm going to head off to the gym and I'm going to enjoy my ninth day of yoga in 11 days. And yeah, and I'm going to just get settled into this leveling up that I just allowed myself to do. So thank you again if you're still with me, and have a great rest of your day.